Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I'm your host, Gary, along with my co-host, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. Our Canal Days series delves into the vast collection of historical sites throughout Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover history throughout the local communities with historic houses, meaningful monuments, preeminent pivotal pioneers, and remarkable remaining remnants, all while uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days will be canvassing the South Hadley Public Libraries. Now, can you define the Main Street Library?
Yeah, so South Hadley always had a library system basically since about maybe I think the 1870s. It was on Main Street in South Hadley. And there it was it was pretty much where the South Hadley Public Parking Lot is, across from where the rectory is of St. Patrick's Church. And it's probably pretty small. There's a few pictures of it around. But that was a start. And most public libraries started around that time. Before that, any library was usually a private library, having connections with fraternal groups. And of course, schools and colleges had their own libraries. But it really took hold around that decade, 1870s, 1880s. And then the South Hadley Public Library would grow from there. In fact, the Gaylord Library up in South Hadley Center came around with a germane idea in 1902, where a member of the Gaylord family thought, if South Hadley Falls has their own library, then South Hadley Center can have a library and have a beautiful one. And so he told them, I want it built where that cemetery is on College Street in the center, across the street basically from the campus of Mount Holyoke College. And he told them in 1902, if you clear this cemetery out, and I have the money here, and I'll have this beautiful library built. And it was named after him. And so they didn't move the cemetery. They moved most of the bodies into the back or into the side of the Evergreen Cemetery. Strange request, but that's what he wanted, and they got their library. So that library is still there. Then, along the way, others were built, and we'll be talking about those.
And can you dive into the South Hadley Carnegie Library?
Yes. Andrew Carnegie, a very rich man in the United States, had a special request. And that request was that any community around the United States that wants to have a library built can have one built off of his money. And you just name it after him, so the Carnegie Library would be the name. And he was so rich that he held to his promise. Thousands upon thousands of Carnegie libraries were built across the United States. A lot of them have similar looks. They're fairly small, but he wanted to help everyone across the United States. He wanted people to read more. And of course, books were quite costly. And so he gave them a lot of money for the books, so forth and so on. Wonderful system. And remember, in South Hadley, you already had two libraries before this. So this one came around in the 19-teens, 1920, like most Carnegie libraries did. And it succeeded right away. They actually ended up taking, after a few years, taking away the business from the Main Street Library because they're so close. And this became the most important one down in the falls itself.
And we will be right back after a few words. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts? Or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Como. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, or more, Robert's tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families or groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit holyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214, capital B, @yahoo.com to book your private tour today. But wait, there's more. Don't miss out on Robert's podcast and video series, Canal Days, where you can dive even deeper into the vital history of the Connecticut River Valley. Plus, for those who may not be local or would rather enjoy on the go, or from the comfort of their home, Canal Days brings the adventure right to your screen. So don't miss out. Uncover the pivotal past with historical tours of Greater Holyoke, with memories to make memories that will last a lifetime. Remember to log on to holyokecanaltour.org for more information and secure your personalized experience today. Welcome back to our Canal Days episode of the South Hadley Public Libraries. And so can you expatiate on the South Hadley Public Library located on Canal Street?
As of 11 years ago, in the year 2014, a brand new library was built in South Hadley. This one was to replace the one in the Falls called the Sally Carnegie Library. And they did a great job. And it's surrounded by little parks too. Library Park to its upper side, and then down below is Riverside Park in South Hadley. And it's a beautifully built 2-floor library with all the functions you want inside of a public library. And it should last 100 years. You know, I wish libraries would last more than that. But it has a lot of advantages. One is that the second floor stairwell is centered right over the Holyoke Dam in a straight line. So you get great views looking out that way. And then they have a beautiful history room inside where you can find lots of historical information about lots of topics that are found around South Hadley. Whether it be the canal system, old mills, street directories, old maps, or some items, physical items. It's a great place to go inside. But you have all the amenities you may think of: a community room, a youth room, and a young child room. So it's a great place, and I'm glad they made a big library to suit South Hadley's needs.
And lastly, can you analyze if any special or school libraries of South Hadley are around?
Yes, there's 4 public schools around the area, from plain schools at the lowest level to the South Hadley High School at the highest level. Those 4 schools each have their school libraries. There's also Mount Holyoke College, and these are not part of the public library system, but sure does complement it. You, as a South Hadley resident, you can take books out of the Mount Holyoke College library if you want to. It's not part of C.W. Myers, but you can take books out, and I've done that several times on my own. Also, there's private school libraries. There's a school for artistic students. There's a music school, performing arts school, and there's a Christian school. They all have libraries. And also the businesses. So a lot of the businesses around town, they're so big, they have their own private libraries, which are, of course, are very academic, and so that they're in tune with what their researchers need available to them. Now, Mount Holyoke College is part of 5 colleges, and the 5-college library is enormous, and Mount Holyoke College has a great advantage in being that. And so that's it. And what a great public system and private system. And it's set for the next 100 years as far as I can tell. And they do a great job of having a lot of social functions and academic functions. Thank you.
And thanks for listening to our Canal Days episode and joining us on the journey through the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past and the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Comu, founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find out more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to keep exploring and discovering the history that is hidden in plain sight all around us.